So over the past few years, we've been deeply engaged in a study of over 7,000 families in Cub Scouting, those who are really successful in Cub Scout packs across the country, and also those packs that are not so successful that have families have chosen to leave the program and vote with their feet. And so we did a lot of exit surveys to find out why they were not happy with the Cub Scout program or why they were not happy with their experience, and what kind of things we might be able to do as a movement to support you as unit leaders as you endeavor to provide strong programs for our young people. So I want to talk to you this evening about that study. In your chair you found a retention guide, and this is really designed for you to repeat this presentation in your own pack environments. So in there's a DVD, and that DVD has this PowerPoint presentation on it as well. And also each one of the slides has basically the notes that I'm going to work on or around as we have our discussion this evening. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we found. Nothing that I'm going to tell you this evening is earth-shattering, right? Mostly what I'm going to talk to you about this evening is simple block and tackling, but we're going to talk a little bit about how to wrap all that together in order to make sure that we're retaining more youth across the country in the Cub Scout program and making sure that every kid has an opportunity to become a Boy Scout. All right, so let's just jump right into it. So the Cub Scout Retention Toolbox is not really a toolbox. It's more of a philosophy or a finding of information and facts and those sorts of things that we've gathered over the last few years as we've done all this studying in order to prepare information to deliver to you guys across the country. So in Central New York, we have 5 councils that are participating in the retention study, which is going to be a 3-year study. We're going to work with the Longhouse Council. We're going to work with Otisiana, Syracuse, Binghamton, Utica, and Albany, and we're going to work on retention statistics and kind of helping to take what is already good in the Longhouse Council with your retention rate of 72% and try to increase that just a little bit as we move forward and retain a few more kids in the program. So why is the dollar sign on the screen? The dollar sign really isn't on there. The popcorn is just more of a picture than anything else. It's more that we were able to identify across the country that each Cub Scout represents approximately $59 or $60 to the Boy Scout program as a whole. And that could be through their popcorn sales, it could be through Scout Shop purchases, it could be through lots of things. What does that mean to you guys? That means when your kids come to day camp, or you come to resident camp, or you participate in your facilities out here like you are tonight, that things like the projectors and all those things that the council invests money in, all the income that they make through the operations of scouting from Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, Venturers, Varsity Scouts, etc., are reinvested in the program for your benefit. Okay, so roughly about $60 per Cub Scout per year is produced in the operation of the Longhouse Council budget. The impact of this across the country is pretty significant. We recruit a little over 500,000 Cub Scouts in the fall of the year. A pretty exciting opportunity to bring on lots of new kids and give them a great program in the world of Cub Scouting. Anybody want to take a stab at how many we lose? Half? Okay. How many more? Anybody else? Quarter. We take in about 500,000 and we lose a little more than 500,000 annually. Okay, so basically what we're doing in the fall is cycling kids. Okay, and that's a lack of retention. We're not retaining the kids, so we wanted to figure out why, because that's a really big number. If you take a look at that across the country, just in council budgets alone, it represents about $90 million. That could have been reinvested into camps and operations and program and resources and all those kind of things. And the statistics, obviously, you'd have to do the math in the Longhouse Council, but across the country, that's a pretty big number. So to us, that was of great concern that local councils were losing approximately $90 million, but more importantly, there was a lot of kids out there that were not getting a scouting experience, and I know that we have a lot of seasoned scouters in the room tonight who understand the program and the value of the program and all that sort of thing. So I want to talk about some of the findings that we identified from some of these alarming statistics that we were able to come up with. When does retention really begin? Anybody want to take a stab? When does retention really begin for a family in scouting?
On the first day.
On the very first day, right? So when the little boy comes home from school and he puts that flyer on the refrigerator and says, I want to be a Cub Scout, and mom or dad says yes, retention starts right there. Okay? I want you to put yourself in the place of buying a car. I want you to think about what your expectations are when you go to the dealer and what you want from the dealer when you're looking for a car. You know, somebody wants a truck, somebody wants a car, but you have certain expectations about what you want that salesperson to deliver. Same as when you entered your kids into this program, you had some kind of an expectation of what you wanted out of this program for your child. Whether you were a scout as a youth, or whether you didn't have any idea what scouting was about at all, you had some expectation of what this program was going to deliver. Maybe it was the boy was going to participate with his friends, maybe he was going to become an Eagle Scout. From two ends of the spectrum, there's lots of things in between. But nevertheless, retention begins at the moment that they get the flyer and they agree to go to that school night. Okay? And one of the things I want you to remember throughout our dialogue this evening is some of the statistics we uncovered deeper than scouting were 67% of all families in the United States of America are divorced. 67%. 78% of all those kids live with their mom. How many of those moms were ever Cub Scouts or Boy Scouts? Right? So how much do they know about our program to start with? When they come and they bring their son to the school night, their expectations are maybe a lot, or maybe they just don't know at all. Okay? The other part of that statistic I want to share with you is when those parents who have kids, and you all have kids, you went to school and you picked your kid up and your son jumps in the car and you say, how was your day at school? What answer do you get? It was good, it was fine, it was okay, it was terrible, but it's usually a one-word response, right? So if when we pick our kids up from scouting and we say, how was scouts? What do you think that response is? Pretty much the same thing, right? Not a whole lot of information is transmitted about their experience at the Cub Scout meeting unless they happen to have a really exciting time and did something super cool, and they're going to tell you all about it. But by and large, it's okay, it was fine, it's whatever. Okay? So with all of that in mind, as we start talking about some of the variables that I'm going to share with you, keep in mind the audience that we're working with. We're generally working with moms who have kids who don't know a whole lot about our program. Okay? All right, let's move forward. So the time clock you have on the screen up there represents approximately 1 hour. What does that 1 hour really represent? Anybody want to take a shot? What does an hour represent?
Your sales pitch time.
It's really, it's sales pitch time, or the time you have for the recruitment. You have approximately 1 hour from the time that parents show up to the door to really tell them about your program, get them registered, collect their fees, and then tell them when their next meeting is going to be. And oh yeah, in some of the cases you're recruiting leaders for dens. Okay? So you have approximately 1 hour. Of that 1 hour, maybe 15 minutes of it is gathering and separating, in some cases, the kids from the parents so they can go have some fun, and the parents are in here for some information, and then you have about 15 minutes of questions and answers, and about 15 minutes of filling out paperwork. So you have 10 to 15 minutes to really tell parents what you want them to know about your program that's going to make a lasting impact. Okay? So one of the things that we found in the study is that in surveying parents alone, parents are indicating when they come to that meeting that night, they know they're going to sign up their child. How many of you have ever took your kid to sign up for soccer and didn't realize they were going to join? Right? Or T-ball or any other program. So when you bring your child to scouting, you know they're going to join. You know there's going to be a fee. You might know how much it is. You might not know how much it is. But you know you're going to write a check of some kind or pay a fee to join the program. Most parents are quite elated when they find out it's only $15 and they get to participate for the entire year. I know I signed my daughter up in travel soccer one time and they said, write me a big fat check, and it was 8 weeks. And I thought, we're a really good bargain. We're really, really a good bargain. Nevertheless, moving along, one of the things we tend to do to parents when they come to our school nights is we provide them with a dousing information overload. We tell them about popcorn. We tell them about everything that's on our calendar for the year. We tell them about all the great things we did last year. We tell them about who the leaders are. We introduce all the leaders. We do all of this stuff. And how much of that do you really think that they retained that night? Right? Because what are they really worried about? Parents are really worried about, I just came from work. I need to get home. I need to fix my kids' dinner. I need to make sure their homework is done. They got to get a bath, and I need to get them to bed. That's really what happens on the night of a school night. So bear all that in mind as you begin to plan your school nights for this year. You need to give your parents information, but you don't need to give it to them all the first night they arrive. Okay? Another thing that I like to talk about in the study was that most of the parents indicated that if they knew there was a job out there that they could help with in the Cub Scout pack, that they would be willing to do it. But when you say to somebody, were you willing to be the Cub Master, that sounds really audacious, right? Sounds really hairy and really big. And I got 200 things going already. There's no way in the world I can volunteer tonight to be the Cub Master. The same thing happens when you say, I want to be a den leader. You're going to have a group of 8 to 10 kids. They're going to meet at your house every week. It's not really going to be a big deal. You just have to plan a little program. And you see where I'm going? I mean, I can see you all shaking and you're all involved in the program, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about how to tone some of that down and how we can deliver them the information they need to do a successful and a good job and not make it sound like it's so hairy and audacious. Okay? All right. So Voice of the Scout. How many of you have participated in any of the surveys that might have come to you related to Voice of the Scout? I'll tell you that information is gathered, and that information is then tallied up and put together, and all the comments are collected, and it all comes back to your local council, and Rich gets that, and the board gets that, and the district committees will see it, and all that kind of thing, and then it's time to look at it, evaluate it, and do something about it. The other thing I'm going to lead to with this is from the national office, this is our way of communicating directly with parents to find out what their issues are, not only in the local council with some of the things going on with scouting, but scouting in general, right? So here are some of the things that we found out. We found out that PAC meetings are way too long, that parents are generally interested in only the recognition portion of PAC meetings, and it's a little bit of fun, but again, they want to get kids fed, they want to get the baths done, they want to get them to bed, and they want all that stuff to happen in about an hour. So depending on the size of your PAC, that may be difficult to accomplish an entire PAC meeting plan inside of an hour or inside of an hour and a half. And oh, by the way, we surveyed to find out what the length of some of the PAC meetings were, and we had PAC meetings stretching from an hour to 4 hours. Can you imagine that? 4 hours. We had a pack of about 150 kids, and the lady was very descriptive. She said, we only meet every other month. We meet on Sunday afternoon, and we go 4 hours, and we have skits, and we have songs, and it's theatrical. And I'm thinking, this is a family event where not only moms and dads come with their Cub Scout, but they're also bringing siblings, and they're squirming around in their seats, and I just don't know how they do it. Okay? So bear that in mind when it comes to putting on the program, that it's from a parent's perspective, they're more interested in the recognition aspects, and they're more interested in them being ceremonious. So I'm going to show you a couple things that we've been doing that are online right now and that are coming out in the new Den and PAC meeting resource guides that are being produced that are going to put some more theme back into the PAC meeting themselves, not necessarily theme-based Den meetings, but theme-based PAC meetings. Okay? The other aspect of this I wanted to touch on was this whole Voice of the Scout is all about communication. And in the spirit of communication, there's lots of ways that we need to communicate with our audience. Remember that a lot of our listeners or a lot of our parents that join as families to scouting don't know anything about us. So immediately we're asking them to volunteer for something they don't know anything about. And then after their kid joins the program, we're not necessarily good across the country about communicating with them about what's going on in the weekly Den meeting and the PAC meeting related to their son. So most of them think their son has joined a camping, recreation, fun activity for an hour a week, and when the son comes home and says, I really want to do this instead of Scouts, they have no other basis to evaluate it on than, well, that was fun and this is fun, so if that's what you want to do, great. They don't understand the values and the character development and all those other things that from the Boy Scouts of America's point of view, we're working to develop in these youth as we work to move them into Boy Scouts and then on into Eagle or at whatever point they rest their career in scouting. All right, so we're going to talk about a couple of avenues for communication as we move forward. Onboarding. There is an envelope that you will be receiving. Some of them I think were handed out this evening. Looks like this. And inside of there's some school night information. I believe, where's Bill? You leave? Okay. I believe these will be handed out, if I heard you guys right earlier today, Rich, these will be handed out by district. And they'll be handed out to the unit coordinators for the school night. Yeah, at school night, okay. So these will be handed out, and these are designed to be given out to all the new people that are joining. This front side leads you to a website that is very simple. The reason why this was developed is because between the time that parents join with their son and the time that they actually begin to get a program, in some cases is 60 to 90 days. They don't stick around that long. It's ADD of another kind. Attention deficit that they join, they want to do. Okay? So what they told us was, in many cases, if they had to wait more than 7 days for a program, they left. They never started Cub Scouting. We had applications, we registered them, and they never started with their den. Okay? So it's important that when you're talking to your parents at school night, when you recruit them, that you're straight up front with them and you know when that den's going to meet next, and that you give them a one-page calendar of activities that'll say, here's what we're doing over the course of the next 90 days or the next 6 months. Don't overload them, but something that'll fit on the refrigerator that they can see so they can anticipate what's coming up in the world of Cub Scouting for their son. They, just like you, have other calendars that they're plugging all of this into. All right, so you don't need to give them another full calendar because they probably got one hanging on there from the Rotary and from the church and from school, and they're just going to plug it into the one that they use the most anyway. Give them a one-pager that shows what kind of things your pack is doing. And I'm going to show you that we've put a template online that's fillable and ready for you to just fill in and utilize when you do your pack program planning. But this envelope will lead new parents and new leaders directly to a site, and on the top there's two tabs. It says I'm a new parent, and the other one says I'm a new volunteer. Okay, or I just volunteered. Okay, and if they click on there, if they click on I just volunteered or I'm a new volunteer, it'll take them to 5 or 6 items that they'll need for next week to run a pack meeting, or a den meeting rather, so that they can run their den meeting. There'll be an electronic available template of the Den and Pack Meeting Resource Guide that they can read through and put on the meeting for next week. It gives them a few short resources that doesn't give them that information blast that we showed you or depicted in the picture that will definitely prepare them to do next week. The other one is I'm a new parent, and in there it talks a little bit about, for those who don't know anything about our program, what is Cub Scouting? What did my son just join? What are the aims of the Boy Scouts of America as it relates to my son in this program? He's going to have some learning. He's going to have lots of fun. There's going to be character development involved. There's going to be cool activities. But it's a great short depiction of what is Cub Scouting. Then on the bottom of both pages, there's a button that says, for more information, click here. Okay? Now when they click here, this is the BSA.org/welcome, and it takes you directly to this site. And here's where it says I'm a new Cub Scout parent, and that's where it says I volunteered to be a new Cub Scout den leader. Okay, that's what the website looks like. And again, it's BSA.org/welcome, and that's what these QR codes are too. If you have a smartphone and you want to use the QR codes, it'll take you directly to it and it'll show you all that stuff. Now, for those that are not technology interested or don't have access to the internet, all of that can be found in the Den Impact Meeting Resource Guide. It all comes directly out of the hard copy of the Den Impact Meeting Resource Guide. It's just excerpted and it's put in an electronic format. Okay? So if you don't have electronic access, the Den Impact Meeting Resource Guide is the guide. Okay. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Handbooks. One of the studies that we did last year determined that only 45% of all Cub Scouts who joined the program purchased a handbook. Now, the Den Impact Meeting Resource Guide is centered around an advancement-based program. And because it's advancement-based, if you don't have a handbook, I'm not sure how they're doing the program. So we started to review a lot of the, we can go in and look at every unit and the advancement reports that are submitted and how often they're advancing. And in a lot of cases where we identified that handbooks weren't being purchased, there were a big bunch of zeros across the screen for the number of advancement reports that were turned in. So I'm not sure what's happening out there, but in some cases it may not be a Cub Scout program that's being delivered in the fashion that it's written in the Den Impact Meeting Resource Guide. The Den Impact Meeting Resource Guide is a result of a 7-year study of a program that used to be called Fast Tracks. It started in Wisconsin, it spread to the central region, and then it spread to the country. And during that time, we took units that had a 45 to 50% retention rate, and we grew that to almost 90%. And all they did was use the plans that were provided, because they're basically plug and play. You pull it out, you read it, you open up the handbook, you do that piece of the handbook, and they earn their awards. It's that easy. Also, the reason why we went that direction instead of doing the crafts and all the activities and that kind of thing was because that's what parents were asking for. We all of you and me and everybody else have really busy schedules. And if you're a single parent, you even have a busier schedule. Because in most cases you don't have one child, you have more than one child, and you're super busy. So we wanted to make it as easy as possible to deliver this program. So earlier I said I would enable you with some resources to show den leaders how easy the job is. If you just simply pull out 1 week of that and you hand it to a den leader or a prospective den leader and say, all you have to do is read step 1 and follow it through to the end and do it for a den meeting and you're done. So if you can read the paper and you got a book, a handbook, you can deliver the program. That's what it takes to be a den leader. Right? And then once a month you fill out an advancement report, you give it to your Cub Master, they buy the awards, and they get recognized at the PAC meeting. Doesn't that sound a whole lot simpler? And that's really what it is. For those of you that are den leaders or have been den leaders, that's about what it is. Okay? In some cases you may need to pull together a couple of resources here and there, but aside from that, that's what the new program is. So if you're not using the new program, I strongly encourage you to utilize it. If you're in a PAC that can't afford a Den Impact Meeting Resource Guide, you send us an email or send the council an email. We'll work together. We'll figure out how to get you the materials you need to be successful. Because if you're not running a Cub Scout program, then you've got kids walking out the door and not participating. Okay? All right. Anybody ever notice on the handbooks, if you line them up together, that this is the trail of scouting?
Oh, wow.
And that when they get to the bridge for crossover into Boy Scouts, that the Webelow handbook is real people and everything else are characters? Right? Because the boys begin to discover their individual identities as they begin to work on their 5 pins and all that stuff with their Webelow leader and all that sort of thing, and they're no longer being given a program, they're kind of working on a program themselves. So they begin to discover their individual identity. All right. Another thing we identified was PACs that were really strong out there with big, strong programs. Most of the kids in the PACs were receiving Boys Life magazine. How you can attribute that to, I don't know. But the statistic related to it was kids who get Boys Life stay in the program longer. They're retained in the program longer, and we track them by, they go on to Pedro Says, boyslife.org, and they play all those games that are on there, and they do all the jokes and riddles, and they get involved in the contests and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like any other website these kids are going to. They're frequenting a lot, and they're using it heavy. There are over 1.3 million hits a month on the Boys Life website. Okay? Scouting, by the way, Boys Life magazine comes out in 2 versions. Comes out in 2 age-appropriate versions, one for Cub Scouts, one for Boy Scouts. So if you have 2 kids in the family, you'll notice they're a little bit different. Okay, and the Scouting magazine comes out 10 times a year. As part of your registration fee, you get the Scouting magazine, and you can hear about what's going on across the country. And there's also editorial opportunities in there to send stories and information and all that kind of thing back to the Scouting magazine. Here recently, coming up in 2 days, I have a kid that was in a council that I was Scout executive for who's going to get his Eagle Scout underwater at the Epcot Aquarium in a scuba format. Near as we could figure out, that's never been done before in the Boy Scouts of America. So we have Boys Life going out to shoot it and do a cool story. Scouting Magazine is following it as well and going to do a story in there. They're interested in you telling them what you want to see. And they're also interested in hearing about your cool trips that you're doing with your Cub Scouts and your Boy Scouts and all that kind of thing, and they will publish them. Okay? I'm going to put my information back up in a minute, and again, if you're having trouble getting to Boys Life or Scouting Magazine, you can just send me the information, and all I do is get out of my chair, walk up 2 floors, talk to Brian Wendell, and say, this is really cool, I think you need to look at it. Okay? I'm happy to do that for you. But this is a great opportunity to get your kids excited. All right, I want to talk about den meetings for a minute. Den meetings are a super exciting opportunity for kids. 1 hour opportunity, in some cases a 2 hour opportunity. One of the things the survey revealed to us was there are dens that meet every week of the month. There are dens that meet twice a month. The retention wasn't any different depending on how long they met. Okay? What made a difference was the excitement of the program. If they were excited about going back, and if they met twice a month and they skipped a week in between, they still continue to participate, even the same as though if they were going every week to a den meeting. So den meetings just need to be lively. They need to be exciting and hands-on. We need to, as adults, we love to talk. We all do. I'm up here in front of you today. I do this constantly year-round, and I can talk all the time. There's only 2 things in life. There's talking, and there's listening. That's it, right? Talking and listening. I have my daughters at home. They're all grown now, but I said there's 2 more things that go with that. Choices and consequences, right? But talking and listening. So in your den meetings, we need to learn to talk less, let them talk more as they begin to develop age appropriately, and give them lots of things to do with their hands. 80% of the population in the U.S. are kinesthetic learners. That means they learn visually. They learn by doing. They learn by hands-on stuff. And kids are no different. Kids and adults, just because all of us that are in our 40s and 50s were never diagnosed with ADD, we probably had it, right? But we probably went outdoors more often and ran around and released a lot of energy than they do today. And most of them are engaged in something like this. It's interesting that in the studies that I was doing in research, kids are averaging 8 hours a day of screen time between TVs, computers, and video games. 8 hours a day. Remember when you were a kid? What'd you do for 8 hours a day? Ran around outside, hung with your friends, played baseball, whatever it was, But it's just a change in our social dynamic. But den meetings need to be exciting. A den chief. How many of you have den chiefs? Okay. One of the things we identified was that successful packs had den chiefs involved in their dens. And successful packs that had high Webelow to Scout transition had den chiefs involved in their den. Den chiefs are not always Boy Scouts. Okay? A den chief can also be a venturer, as venturers also have to have a teaching element to what they do. They need to share the things that they know and work with others that are younger than them. It can be elderly folks, grandparents who have time on their hands that work really well with kids in a lot of cases. Think out of the box when you think about a den chief. Okay? Think out of the box when you think about a den chief. But having someone there to support you as a den leader while you're preparing things or you're getting activities ready to keep the energy level contained and doing something else is critical to keeping strong behavior practices in place for packs and dens. So den chiefs are one of those things that made a big difference. Training. This is a tough one. It's important that you're encouraging training. We've been getting pressed really, really hard at the national level to require training. In our department, we're embracing the philosophy of training, no doubt. We want everybody to get trained because that means the kids are going to get a stronger program, and it means they're going to get a real Cub Scout program, because we talk about the Den and Pack Meeting Resource Guide, and we talk about all the resources that enable you to give a really strong program. However, mandatory is a really strong word. Required is a really strong word. If you just simply think of it in terms of what do you like to be, most people like to be successful, right? No matter what you do, you want to be successful. I don't think anybody in here wants to fail. If we're going to be successful at delivering a program to kids, then training is just part of it. It's part of building your package of being a strong leader. So as you recruit new den leaders and bring them on board, it's not a you must go to training kind of thing. You could say that, but it tends to make people defensive. It's easier if you just simply talk about it in terms of being successful. You want a successful pack that delivers a strong program to kids, and part of that is making sure we know what we're doing with the program and getting trained. There are lots of options. Specific leader training is online. This is your website. How many of you have never been to this website? Okay, good. This is your website? That's a good call. Rich is in the back taking a head count. No, I'm just kidding. Right here under Scouters.
Yep.
When you click on the Scouters button, it brings you to this, and you go down and you click on to training, and it takes you to an entire page. The only thing I recommended to your team today is maybe you flip-flop that page and you bring all those trainings that are down below up to the top, so that new leaders, when they hit it, it's the first thing they see. Okay, so if they find it real easy and it's easy for them to see, they click on it and they go to the My Scouting page and they enter their information in, and off they are into the training world. They can take as much training as they want to. The only required training that's on there for Cub Scout leader, specific leader training in the pack. If you're going camping, somebody in that group that's going camping has to have either We Will Leader outdoor training or Baloo for day activities outdoors. Okay, but the required training is a specific leader training and youth protection. Youth protection is not a required training. Youth protection is a joining requirement of the Boy Scouts of America. Okay, it's a joining requirement. And I don't think anybody can argue with keeping our kids safe and making sure that everybody has youth protection that we bring on board. But this is how you access training from your website. And there's what it looks like when you get to it. Right there, boom, there's all the specific leader trainings. The other part of it is the selection of leaders. Okay? Making a poor leader selection, and this is the example I like to use, is we only have an hour, and when you really get down to it, you got about 10 or 15 minutes to make an impact, select leaders, do all those kind of things that you're trying to do at this school night. And if you have your dens broken out as a tiger table, a wolf table, a bear table, etc., and somebody inevitably will come up to the table and go, okay guys, here's how it's going to work. We have to have a bear leader tonight, and so I want all your parents to get together here and decide who's going to be the bear leader. And oh, by the way, if we don't get a bear leader, then we can't have a den. Right? Have you seen it? I've seen it repeated innumerably across the country, all over the place. When it's a whole lot easier to walk in with a Den and Pack Meeting Resource Guide outline, a parent template, How many people are familiar with the parent template? Okay, I'll show you the parent template too. Very cool. You're going to love it. It's a fillable form. Talks about when the meetings are, when the next meeting is. It's a sheet you can send out once a month or once a week if you want to. You can email it. You can print it and hand it out in hard copy. It talks about all the requirements that the kids have for the year that they're in, what's supposed to be done at home, all that stuff, and it gives the parents all the information that they need to be contributors to your pack. That's the number one reason why parents said they do not volunteer for you when you ask. They don't understand. They don't know the program. They're not sure what you're really asking them to do. You know, so you walk up to somebody and you go, okay, I need you to be a Kayla in the Weeblo program, and they're like, what? You can't even find those two words in the dictionary, right? So it's better if we speak in layman's terms and we show them just how easy it is to deliver the program, and somebody at that table is going to have the light bulb go off and they're going to go, I can do that. That's pretty easy. Not gonna, and most of the time they're going to go, hey, listen, I'll do that if you'll help me. Will you help me do that?
Sure.
Co-leaders, you know, and that's okay.
Damn, I volunteered for something else.
There you go. But the selection process is critical. And the reason why the selection process is critical is because if you pick a bad leader, you're going to lose 8 or 10 kids that are never coming back. They'll never try Boy Scouting. They'll never try venturing. They'll never come back. And they'll never have realized what this program can truly be for them. Okay? I use this analogy, and it's probably a bad one, but I'm going to use it anyway. You know, if you give me an idiot and I train them, I have what? Trained idiot, right?
He's trained.
Yeah, exactly. So you need to have somebody with some passion. You need to have somebody who likes working with kids. You need to have somebody who is willing to give the time that's necessary to provide a strong program. And if you give them the tools to do that with, it makes their job very easy. Okay? All right. Succession plans. I do want to touch on that for just a second. Packs with strong committees, and probably 80% of the packs in your council are more or less strong. They offer different programs, different flavors, because we're all different people. We come from different backgrounds, we have different educations, we have different ideas of what fun is, and the list goes on. So every pack's going to be a little bit different. Okay? But 80% of those are really good. And 20% of those are struggling to deliver a program because they've taken on a lot by themselves. Volunteers generally wear more than one hat. Some people are wearing so many hats they can't see, right? And those are generally the packs that get diluted because there's so many things going on. You get burnout and then you just quit because you can't do it. You can't do that in regular life, you know, family life and work life and all that kind of thing. So I would encourage you to work with your pack committees and develop a succession plan. The ideal time to do a unit pack program planning session is before the year ends. You sit down, you evaluate the year you just had, and then you look at who's going to be your leaders for next year and where your gaps are. This one says, oh yeah, I'm coming back, I had a blast. This one says, I ain't coming back, I hate those kids. Whatever, you know.
Hi.
You know you got to fill that hole. You know you got to fill that hole. But you know now, before school night comes, and we're all from small towns here in central New York. There's, you know, unless you live in, even if you live in Syracuse, generally speaking, you're from a small community, a small social community. So your kids go to T-ball together, and they go to gymnastics together, and they go to whatever they're doing, they go do it together, and you know who the parents are, and you know who the potential leaders are out there, and you know what kids you don't have in the program that you can recruit into the program. And they're generally, if you talk to those parents ahead of time and explain it as I have to you, most often they will say, yes, I will be willing to participate. Okay? Also, if you get parents involved on a small scale in a Pinewood Derby or a Blue and Gold Banquet or in some kind of a small way, generally speaking, when they've had fun, they will come up to you and say, what else can I do for you? What do you want me to do next?
We got you.
Right? And there you go. Victim of circumstance. There you go. But succession planning is important. And, you know, it's not that, oh my God, it's June, I can't wait, you know, for the break for the summer kind of thing. But making sure that you take that last step, evaluate the year, plan for next fall. Okay. Speaking of planning, how many of you are familiar with the unit program planning resources, on scouting.org/Cub Scouting? Anybody? Okay, real briefly, we're going to exit, and I'm going to take you to this site. This is scouting.org/Cub Scouting. Okay? And on here, it's very, very simply laid out by position. Cub Scouts click that button, they go in there, there's games, there's information on Cub Scouts, there's lots of fun. Parents click this button and they can learn about what Prepared for Life is, the values of scouting and the Cub Scout program and all that kind of thing, and it's very simple terms. As you go down the page, we get more sophisticated into the leadership positions. You have den leader, and here's the pack meeting plans, the den leader's role, and the resources that are available to them that they can either access online or purchase. Same thing on this side for the Cub Master. You have the pack meeting plans and the resources available to Cub Masters, committee chairman, etc. So for any of you who are in doubt, it's the pack committee's job to do the unit program planning process. Okay? Now I know that's ideal, and it may not happen in every pack, and groups get together and you make that happen, but if you click on the program planning resources, I'm going to point out two resources on here that I really think are super resources you can take advantage of immediately. Okay. So if you sit down with a group and you have a couple hours and you're having a cup of coffee, this resource right here, and I put Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts on the same page because a lot of you wear many hats, and the first thing that happened was we listed Cub Scouting, and then I got phone calls because no one went to the Boy Scout page to say, hey, do you have a Boy Scout one of those? So I put them both on the same page, you can see them at one time. If you go to the PAC program planning, and it's a video, it takes you through 15 steps. You watch a little, you do a little. You watch a little, you do a little. You watch a little, you do a little. Before you know it, you're done. Okay? It involves calendaring, it involves setting up some activities, it involves making sure you know who your contacts are, it involves simple steps like that that you walk through in the normal course of business. Yes, ma'am?
Where do you find information to help you with planning the venturing year? I know the kids do the majority of the planning.
For venturing?
Yeah.
Same place.
Okay.
I'll show you the venturing site. Okay? But if you scroll down here on the Cub Scout side, here's the key information, school dates, community events, all that goes on a calendar, right? It's no different for venturing. Okay? Come down a little bit further. Here's the people that are supposed to be involved potentially in your pack planning process. Okay? And if I take you down a little bit further, we get into the annual program pack plan. And then it starts with step 1 and it goes all the way down through. Let me show you, where's the calendar? Coming down. Resources. There's a pack calendar template. Okay. Just because you guys are kinesthetic learners, it's your word for the night. When you open it, you have 3 views. It's coming through my phone, so it's taking me a moment. There it goes. Okay. So at the bottom down here, you have 3 views. Yeah, I particularly like this one. It has the months on both sides. And so you can scroll up and down. That's not the one I like. I particularly like that one. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Okay. I can see both pages on here with that. So you have the months on both sides and planning on both sides. You write in the things that are going on. And when you're done, you just print that and give it to your parents. They have a calendar. They know what's happening. They know what's going on in the pack, when the pack meetings are and all that kind of thing. And you've filled it all in. It's a completely fillable form. Okay? Also on here, there's a newsletter template. Newsletters are critical. How many of you do a newsletter for your parents? Very good. And I would venture to guess you probably have some of the strongest packs in the council. Because informed parents will volunteer, informed parents will participate, and informed parents understand what their role is. Okay? So on here, this newsletter is just a fillable. You can fill in the month's theme, next month's theme, all of the information that you want to share, pack activities, news from the dens, how to get ready for a pack meeting. Then again at the bottom, there's a view and print newsletter. Just fill in the blanks. Parent opportunities, pack meetings, what's going on this month. You know, here's the treasurer's report, how much money we have. Because you're asking parents, in some cases, you charge $15, and other packs charge $40, right? It's whatever the pack is doing, is, in my opinion, but you can give them a little report of where the money's going. What did we buy? Where's it going? What's that money going for? We don't mind writing the check if we know where it's being spent. All right, and then there's several more options here, and I'm not going to go through them all, but preparing for emailing. Now, here's what you do. If you want to email this stuff directly to your parents, it tells you exactly what to do. All right? There are a number of tools like that on that resource site that you can use that are immediate templates, plug and play, put your information in, print it, you're done. Making it easier for you to do a pack program planning. Okay? All right. Let me jump out of there. Go back to this real quick. Okay, there's the Cub Scout site that I just pointed out to you. Cub Scouts, scouting.org/Cub Scouts. Now, advancement and recognition. The whole purpose for the Den and Pack Meeting Resource Guide is advancement. And why did we do that? We did that because that's what parents and kids asked for. Kids asked for the fun stuff that was in their handbook. Not macaroni on a plate, not painting another rock, not doing those types of activities, but rather fun, hands-on things that they could get, release some energy with and do fun stuff. Build things, do things, all that kind of stuff. So advancement is critical. The recognition is even more critical. Making sure that we're recognizing kids along the way. The other things parents said is, kids are doing a lot more than just Cub Scouts. They do great in school. They just got involved in soccer and they won in soccer. Your kids are Cub Scout family, and your families are part of that family. And so it's important to share all the things that family's doing. And let everybody know it's like being at church. It's a big family, right? People you go to church with, big family. So we need to treat Cub Scouting a little more like that and recognize the kids for all the things going on in their life. And it doesn't have to be big stuff. Little mini Hershey bars, get them wired up, send them home with mom. No, I'm just kidding. Little mini things are great little recognitions, for kids. A pat on the back and an opportunity to come up and stand on a podium like they do for the Olympics, that's great stuff for kids. They love that stuff, right? It's important that we continue that process. All right. Scoutparents.org. Has anybody been to scoutparents.org? Scout Parents is loaded with great information for parents who don't know anything about Cub Scouting, who want to get their feet wet a little bit at a time. Okay? And right now you can register as a Scout Parent, and it doesn't cost you anything, and you participate, and you just have a great time. Okay? It's important that during that process that we do the orientation and we continue to give them newsletters and all that kind of thing so that they can continue on and hopefully become den leaders or some more position on your pack committee, etc. There's this form called a family talent survey sheet that you can find on Cub Scouts, the Cub Scout site or the Scout Parent site. Great sheet for you to use to get information from your parents on what their talents are. Get ready for Pinewood Derby, now you know who all the contractors and wood shop guys are and all that kind of thing, or gals. You get ready to go on a trip, you know who owns the van and all that kind of thing. So it's a great resource sheet so you can resource what you have in your pack. All right. This is a picture of what this program is all about. This picture is about family. It's about creating relationships in a really, really busy culture. We have a really busy culture in America. We're all extremely busy, but in that process, what we hope to try to do is communicate well with our parents, offer some social opportunities for parents and their kids so that they can spend quality time together and create a real bonding experience through the Cub Scout program. It's not just drop your kid off for a recreational activity. And that's the kind of thing we need to help parents understand, is really what does this program mean to your family year-round. Not just 6 weeks, not just 8 weeks of soccer, but year-round. Okay? We're a year-round program. All right. So some items you can take away from this, 7 takeaways. One of the critical things was handbooks for kids. If a kid doesn't have a handbook, he's really not working on the program. He's listening to what you're saying to him, but he doesn't have anything visual to look at. And they are visual. Okay? Everything from video games to McDonald's menus to the Generation X, Y, and Millennials are the menu generation. They've never seen anything that wasn't on a menu. From the TV screen, to the video game, to the McDonald's menu, to the options they get at school, everything's a menu. And they want it, and they expect it now, and it needs to be visual so that they can see what's going on. Orientation, selection, and training of leaders is critical. Okay? Somebody says, yes, I'll be the leader. For God's sakes, assign them a mentor. Assign them somebody who's good in your pack that can say, hey, listen, the first meeting's not going to be that hard. This is how you do it, and here are the things you need to do. Okay? But it's important to make sure we orient them well, select them well, so that we can keep our kids in our program. The first meeting needs to happen within 7 days. If you don't have an end meeting within 7 days, kids begin to wane and forget all about what they signed up for a week ago. They're excited to go next week. They're excited to get their book. Think back on your own kids. They were excited to get a Cub Scout shirt when they finally got it. Birthday, Christmas, the next week, whatever it was, they were excited on the day they got that stuff. Frequent communication to parents. A den chief for every den. By and large, across the country, those packs that had den chiefs had far stronger programs and far larger retention than those that did not. An annual program plan is critical. Making sure you take time annually to evaluate last year's program and develop next year's program is key, and we've given you a bunch of tools and resources to do that. And then the Summertime Pack Award. Summertime Pack Award is the opportunity to just keep in touch over the summer. The 3 most popular things that are done across the country are day camp, swimming, and a picnic. 3 most popular things in the summer to get you through June, July, and August before you start up again in September. Okay? And those are the 7 takeaways that we have from this. The other thing I would say is nothing I told you this evening was rocket science. Probably things you already knew. The difference is discipline. The discipline of making sure that you're doing those things as a pack will help make your job so much easier. So much easier. Okay? And raise your hand if you're having a difficult time recruiting leaders. I will tell you that if you put some of these things into practice, recruiting leaders will be just so much easier for you to do. It'll be exponentially easier for you to get people to say yes. Okay? We're all creatures of habit. If I asked everybody right now to stand up and follow me out the door, you'd stand up and follow me out the door. It's just how we are. We're creatures of habit. We will do what we're asked to do or told to do in a lot of cases. But it's the trip that's important. Right? You don't have any fun when I walk out that door, you're probably not going to do it again. Okay? So make sure that it's fun and exciting for everybody, not just the kids, but also your parents and your adults. That's the retention toolbox. There is my personal information. You are welcome to contact me at any time. I'm here to support the Longhouse Council, Rich and his team, and the volunteers, and I'm also here to support you. So if you need something and you need it in a pinch, I have a team behind me at the national office. You'll also find out in some of the Cub Scout resources that on the bottom it says program.content@scouting.org. You can send an email to that at any time, and it'll be answered within 72 hours. If you tell us that it's urgent we will try to get it to you in the time that you've declared urgency on. Okay? I need it by tonight, or I need it tomorrow, or whatever. But because we get 7,000 of those a week, we need to make sure that if it's urgent, it's urgent. Okay? Also, if you're doing the program and you have any feedback for us, constructive, we're happy to hear it, because it's you guys that change what the book says. Okay? Scott and I work on a team right now called the 411 team for the National Strategic Plan, and we're reviewing the entire Cub Scout program. So if you have information that, and it's not just Scott and I don't want to give that impression, but there's literally hundreds of volunteers involved in this process, just like you. Okay? There's 3 or 4 professionals, and there's hundreds of volunteers just like you involved in the process, taking a look at all the aspects of Cub Scouting to make sure that it's current, it's relevant, and it's dynamic for today's youth. Okay? So if you have ideas, or you've worked with the Den Pack Meeting Resource Guide and you have suggestions, I'm all ears. I like to hear them, and potentially we could implement them. But you will get a response one way or another as to what can be done. So, questions? All right, yes.
I just have a comment for you.
Yep.
One of the things that I didn't hear you mention, and that we found very successful in our past, is that we made it really clear to parents on recruitment night that the pack is all about family, and that means all the pack activities. That means when we have a weekend, a day hike scheduled, or even our overnight camping, everybody in the family is invited. So we have little kids and brothers and sisters who aren't Cub Scouts, who are too young to be Cub Scouts, at all these events, especially for the single moms who have 2 kids and one's too young to be a
Right.
scout or as a daughter. It makes it so much easier for them to participate if they know they're welcome along with their younger siblings. So we made it open really for families for all of our little pack events, and
Very good
that
point.
made it really easy for everybody to participate.
Everybody hear that in back? Okay, good. Good. That's an excellent point. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come up here and talk to you, and turn it back over to Bill.
Thank you, Don.
You are very welcome.
Good job.